Hey, it's Rada. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about art therapy. And although I wouldn't say I do traditional art therapy, I don't have an art therapist that I'm talking to, I still consider just creating art a form of therapy. Over the past year, I think I've been housebound about, I would say 5 months out of the past year. 4 months last year, and then I'm kind of getting to that point again where I just don't feel safe driving right now. I'm having seizures at least once a week and losing feeling in my lower legs probably like 3 times a week. And because I'm feeling very weak and depleted, my reaction time is slower, so I just feel like I shouldn't be on the road. So that and the low energy levels are keeping me kind of trapped inside. So over the past year, I've experimented with a lot of different types of art to try to find something that passes the time on the days that I'm not so weak I'm stuck in bed, but I'm actually just kind of puttering around the house and looking for something to do. And I found for me the best medium has been alcohol ink. So I think this is a great medium for a lot of people, so I'm going to do a quick little tutorial on how to use alcohol ink today and the basic supplies that you need to get started. And I don't expect to create a masterpiece, but it's I just want you to get the general idea. And the reason I think it's a great art form for a lot of different people is because it's got a very quick setup and breakdown time, so if you're low on energy, there's not a lot of extra work required. The tools you need are relatively inexpensive. I think you would be able to get started for like $15 max. You can use a variety of different mediums. There's a special paper called Yupo paper that's ideal if you're using paper, but it costs about $1 a sheet. So that can get expensive. So the medium I'm suggesting and showing you how to do today is on a ceramic tile, because then if this isn't something you're doing to like resell or you want to keep forever, when you do it on a tile, you can just wash the tile off with alcohol afterwards and start all over again. So it would be a way you could take a little picture when you're finished, and then that's your memory and your therapeutic kind of visual imagery of whatever you're processing through. And you can keep using that same tile again and again. So then all the supplies you really need are rubbing alcohol and the ink. And then the other reason I think it's really accessible is because it's abstract art. You can make regular art and paint trees and whatever you would like to try to make more realistic. But for me, I just do abstract, and I think that makes it more accessible because you don't actually need any skills. And so I think that's kind of the best part of it. I like alcohol ink because you're basically working with chemical reactions, so there's no way you could actually recreate the same piece twice. You're working with the way the inks interact with the alcohol and also the carbon dioxide of your breath if you're breathing on it, or if you're using a heat gun to blow on it or a hair dryer to blow on it. All of those things are going to cause different reactions with the ink and the alcohol. So it's a way to just let go of all the perfectionism, just be in the moment and get into a flow state and forget about everything that's going on in your life, or a way to process through everything that's going on in your life. So I really find it enjoyable and it's fun, and it is just a technique or art form that I think a lot of people would enjoy and get therapeutic value out of. So I wanted to share my setup and how I do it with you today. I just put a piece of freezer paper down and tape it down over my table to keep everything clean and protected. And then I add paper towels onto that just because they're absorbent and will soak up any excess alcohol or ink. And I have to put on gloves. This is optional. I'm just on a medication that gives me an allergic reaction to alcohol, so I'm not allowed to touch it and I'm not supposed to smell it. So I tend to put on gloves and put on a face mask. So if you're in the same boat, then that's options to keep you protected. But otherwise the ink will absorb into your hands and it is pretty hard to clean off, so the gloves are helpful. So all I need is alcohol. The higher percentage the better it is, so 70% isn't usually, it's a little bit harder to work with. And then today I'm just gonna use 2 different alcohol inks. This, the brand is Ranger and the color is Patina and Flamingo. And then I'm just going to show you on a tile today, because when you're using a tile versus paper, you can just wash the tile off with alcohol and it will clear the masterpiece you created so that you can keep using the same tile over and over, and it will save you on art supplies. So I'm going to start by just putting a little bit of alcohol on the tile and just using the green patina. You can already see there's a hair on there. You can just add a couple drops and then let it move around. And you'll see a lot of the inks tend to have a lot of different pigments that make the color. So you'll start to see all the different colors that come out. Sometimes you'll start to see little shades of yellow and blue if it's a green. And I just move it around trying to get a lot of the tile covered to get started. And from there you can keep adding more ink. So, and try to get some where alcohol hasn't touched, because it'll give it a stronger effect. And again, you can just keep moving it around. And I like to blow on it with a straw. And then you can keep adding. So I like the alcohol inks because it requires no skill and you can just be creative, try out a bunch of different stuff and see what happens. And I tend to be a perfectionist in life. In this medium, you have no control over it. You're basically working with chemical reactions of how the alcohol and the ink react to each other. So even if you tried to make the same exact work of art, both 2 times in a row, it would never come out the same. And so this really helps me let go of my perfectionism and just play and see what happens. So I'm going to try to bring this up closer so you can see, but you may be able to see some different shades of blues and yellows coming out. There's a kind of almost like a lime green line coming out in there. Get a little bit too much of a reflection from the light, but even the carbon dioxide from your breath starts to change how the ink is reacting, so it's kind of cool. you want to cover the whole tile, you can, but I usually don't. I tend to leave little areas untouched. You just need to be careful as you're blowing, condensation will form in the straw. So where I was blowing, a little droplet of water just fell on the tile. So I'm going to start adding a different color, the flamingo, so you can see how it really doesn't take a lot of colors to make some interesting designs. To keep alcohol in this little tiny container, has like a little needle top, and so that way I have better control over where the alcohol lands. So you can see the green is and the pink combine is actually starting to make purples because the green has blue in it. So you never really know what results you're gonna get. And I think that's why I like this medium so much, is it really just, it makes me let go of any thoughts and ideas and just, it's truly playtime for me. I love seeing how the alcohol reacts, and I have this tendency to, like, if I get in the shower afterwards and close my eyes, I keep seeing the droplets drop down and the different kind of expansion. And seeing what happens. See, when you put just little dots. how it keeps making purple. I think that's really cool because now it's an unexpected color that I wasn't planning on having without even using an additional ink. So that's what makes this like pretty cool, is that you really don't need a lot of supplies, which is great because if you're like me and you're struggling with illness, your expenses are already through the roof. So you don't need a hobby to put a big hole in your pocket. So I really like this medium. And like I said, like after I get done with this, I can just use the alcohol to wash off the tile and it will be completely clean again. You can see all the different colors. Try a little bit darker in here. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. That's my finished piece. I like it. And you can see I've used this tile at different times because all of this glue is from, and this side has purples and yellows. So you can kind of see that there's still alcohol that remains on the tile after you wash it, but that doesn't mean you can't use it as a surface again and again. And if you weren't using a tile, then you could try using, this works on glass and metal, and the best paper for it is something called Yupo paper. So this is Yupo paper. And I think the normal price is $20.75, but whenever I buy it at Hobby Lobby, it's $11.99, and that gives you 10 9x12 sheets. So it's definitely more expensive to use the paper, but you can always cut that paper into small pieces and maybe like use it as 4x6 paper. I guess it'd be about 4.5x6. And then you can make 4 sheets out of every one sheet of paper. So that's how I play with alcohol ink.